Now we're going. Let's hope it works. Okay. Everything, everywhere, all at once. A kind of crazy alliteration. Immediate thoughts. Kevin.
Why me first, brother?
Were we using our actual names?
Sure. Yes. Why not?
Okay.
Do you want to go by a different name? Do you have a pen name? Do you have a pseudonym you want?
Can you just call me David?
David.
Okay,
Everybody's
Cordelia.
called David. Wait, that'll get confusing because your name's Davis.
Yeah, what up,
Yes, and
Cordelia?
then we have
How
a
you doing,
Dave
Cordelia?
David.
How
Just
you
call me
doing,
Cordelia, whatever.
Yo, what up,
Whatever.
Cordelia?
Oh,
I don't
God.
think anyone's gonna know who you are or be able to find you off of this.
Yo,
I
what's
just
up,
don't want
Cordelia
anyone to
Marie
know that.
David?
All
What's up, Cordelia Marie David?
See, all
I
6
like-
people who are
saying
going to
that.
watch this are going to be
Delete
people
that.
who have already been in the server and have talked to you in person. So,
Yeah, also the
Alright.
people who are watching this are people who already subscribed to Davis' channel who are like,
Unless he's screen
Which is
recording
like-
our Discord names, which I'm assuming is not doing. So
I mean, I don't know why you would do that, but
well, right now I am doing that, but I'm just going to put
I'm
the
assuming
movie
you wouldn't
poster on top
upload
of
that.
it.
Yeah.
fuck me.
Yeah, well, no, it's the Discord names here, so I'm casual everything. We got Ultra Wide Delia, we got Lucy that follower, and we
Yes,
got Gordon
sir.
Ramsay. You know.
But I'm
It's
just-
fucking raw.
That's
Where's
fucking
my
raw.
lamb sauce?
Alright, so yeah,
Who
that's a
are
great
you?
synopsis of the movie.
Yep.
Thank you, Kevin. Cordelia,
Yep.
thoughts?
Oh, I love this movie. I think it's wonderful. It always makes me cry. There's
Imagine
lots of
crying
layers.
as a white person watching this movie.
Dude. What?
Let's just bring race right into the picture. No, I'm just
Bro. I think there's lots of layers and lots of things to be said, like both philosophically and like when you just get down to like living our everyday life. And like the way that they filmed it was really cool because like they were only a few people and they didn't have a huge budget or anything. So when you watch like the documentaries about how it was made, it's really fascinating. Great acting. Yeah. Probably my top 5 movies. I really don't have much to say against it because like I don't know, I thought it did everything very well. Shut up, cat.
Nice.
Hannah won't
Yeah.
use talk live
Damn,
on
shit
cam.
on.
4K.
It was also funny. I don't know if you guys laughed as much as I did at
How-
it, but there were a lot of funny moments.
I don't know how you can't not laugh at that
Yeah.
movie where it's just like you got the rocks, you got dildos, you got butt plugs, you got things that
butt
aren't supposed to
plug
be butt plugs and the butt plugs, and then you got
The
just-
hot dogs.
Yeah.
The hot dogs coming like mustard and ketchup. Ugh.
Yeah. If you don't laugh at the movie, you don't like the movie, then you're just probably an Asian hater and a gay hater.
Damn, real.
So every Asian mother parent right now.
Asian mothers hate Asians?
I mean, Asian mothers be hating the gays, so
They do hate other Asians.
Oh man. Oh man. I was thinking that this would be, cordial and nope. Same sort of just I love you guys.
what do you expect from a fucking group of hooligans, my guy?
Hooligans.
No, I mean the movie's good. The movie is really good. I mean, I would say yes, it's funny in aspects, and I like that they added a lot of like the humor stuff, especially to tone down some of the more like deeper emotional stuff. But at the same time, I feel like there is almost a hyperfixation on like the sexual stuff. Not in terms of like sexuality, but like literal sexual stuff. Like the dildos, the butt plugs, all that kind of. It almost was like a weird fixation, and I don't know if that's just something of who the writer is or something like that. But
Yeah.
it kind of went through the whole movie where there was at least one aspect of sex somewhere in the whole 3-parter, which I thought was kind of interesting. Not like a gripe, but just something very interesting when you look at it after watching it 3 times.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Because, like, you know, like the part where they're in the vault, I didn't even realize the first time that I watched it that the vault has sex toys
Yeah.
in it
Oh, I
when
mean,
they're
like
in it
Oh,
too.
they come back.
Kevin.
They
And
come
I
back
was
to
like,
it at the
I was
end.
like, whoa,
vault-
wait a
The
fucking
vault's a
second.
dungeon.
No, that's what I
Yeah.
was saying. I didn't even realize
Okay.
it was a fucking like sex dungeon in there at first when they were like when it transitioned from the guy saying like, "Oh, like can you just clean this up?" to like them going into the vault sex dungeon. I didn't even like make that connection at first, and then I watched it again and I was like, "Whoa, that's fucking crazy."
Yeah. I think that was like one of the few complaints where I've like watching other movie reviews people had of this, where it's just like like where they the security card when he like first figures out that he has to mount himself on the award.
He's gonna peg himself.
Mount.
Yes.
Mount.
How would you call that amazing from downtown butt slam?
He's
Down
gotta
onto that
fucking
thing.
peg himself, bro.
Just that's a mounting. That is a supreme and
Like the
perfect
pegging,
10.
yeah.
Just like, yeah, he's mounted. You've been mounted? Yeah, yeah. He's
All right, guys,
mounted.
give me 10 minutes. I'll watch it at 3 times speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, with how fast the movie, like the first time around, yeah, watching it, like it feels like it's going a mile a minute, like faster than Oppenheimer and
It
faster
feels
than some other
very
movies.
fast.
I'm never gonna watch Oppenheimer, but I probably will watch the movie like right now.
Dude.
Unironically.
Oppenheimer's amazing. I don't want to do it on this podcast later, but you know.
But you should
I'll watch
do
it for the
you should do
podcast.
Godzilla next.
Which one?
I just watched the new one in theaters.
Godzilla -1?
Yeah.
That one probably can come up. Where were we? Mounting. Sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's like, yeah, watching it now, it's like they toned it to where it's fitting for an R rating, and like, yeah, if you're going in there, you kind of like expect something. Like, I don't know what everyone like when they first heard about this movie, like when they were expecting, and then they come out of it like, what?
Yeah.
With that. But yeah, like there is a decent amount of sex stuff, and it's like it feels like a bit of a crutch where they couldn't think of weird stuff that wasn't sexual, so they had to think of weird stuff that was sexual, weird stuff that was sexual, weird stuff that was sexual. It was like weird stuff, sexual, weird stuff, sexual.
I think it's also like not only is sex easy, but it's also like a fundamental part of humanity.
Well, okay. Well, I wouldn't say sex is easy. Like,
No,
we go,
I'm
like,
sorry,
damn,
sorry, hold
Jesus
on.
Christ, like,
I meant
fuck.
sex is an easy form
Fuck,
of
that
humor.
shit ain't easy. Like,
Yeah, but
sex is an easy form of humor. You
Mhm.
can get people to laugh very easily by joking about or with sex.
that is fair.
But it's also like a fundamental part of humans and like nature, and we're animals, and so that's an instinctual part of our lives. And like it's also something everybody can relate to.
Well, I
So-
mean, I don't know about that, but
I mean, it is though. Like even
I mean,
the
is it
lack
though?
of sex is a relational thing. Like or the difficulty in getting sex, or you know, like
Yeah,
things
we're
that.
just going all in here. Hey, we're
I'm-
just rubbing it
Yeah.
all in here.
Thank you
Kevin,
very
you're
much
the
to
one
any
who brought it
virgins
up,
who are now
okay?
watching this recording.
But like I think they were also trying to show that, like, you know, with the sex dungeon thing in the vault, or how in the end she didn't she I don't know, make somebody very happy when she was
What?
fighting up the stairs? I don't remember.
In the dungeon?
No. When she was
Or-
fighting up the stairs towards the donut,
Yeah.
she got like the guy with the ball gag.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was the same
It
guy
was
who
his
like
king,
walked out
right?
of the sex
Right.
dungeon.
Yeah, it was.
So
his
like
king.
there's also like fulfilling people's needs, and sometimes people's needs look different. And when you stop looking at it as a joke, it's actually something kind of serious in the movie. They just needed to get there, I guess. I do think they used it kind of a lot, but it was really funny. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like I said, it wasn't necessarily like a gripe of mine. It's just, an interesting facet that they did use it as much as they did.
Yeah.
I think it was also a good tool to make people feel unsettled.
Hmm.
Because a lot of
I
this
guess
movie
it's a very
is
unexpected thing for a movie like this, I feel like.
yeah, like it's just like, all right, what boundaries is it gonna cross? And like they never show dick or ass on screen, like they pixelate it.
Well,
But
I mean, they showed the dildo, but
they do show the dildos.
But you
But, yeah.
can dildos are you can just go to a store and see those. So
Oh, well,
Sure,
let's
yeah.
review
We
some
just
things.
walk down the
Look at
Target really quick.
yeah,
Grab
let me
my
look down the Target real quick.
Target has
2 foot
them.
long dildo.
Yeah, let me get a. Can I get a 2-foot dildo?
Can it be the extra wiggly type?
I went to CVS the other day and they had sex toys in there. So
Okay, that's fair.
Super.
CVS actually does have vibrators.
yeah.
It was very weird. I walked around it for a second, and there was just like a vibrator. I was like, "What the fuck?"
I guess
Yeah, dude.
note
Sometimes you
for
gotta
the
you gotta
virgins
go to
because
CVS.
Valentine's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only gripe that I have with the movie is the same gripe I have of several movies, where when they cut between aspect ratios of the camera. So there's some times where it was like 16:9, it was like IMAX, it was standard, and then it'd go to cinematic and do I forget what the ratio is, like nearly 21:9 wide, and like back forth. And in some of the montages, it's like, all right, it kind of blends in and it works out because they frame her well and like make it look good. But it's just when I watch movies like Oppenheimer, like Christopher Nolan does it sometimes, where it's just like he loves IMAX and he makes use of IMAX, but then he's for some reason part of the movies are not in IMAX, are not in like the amazing format.
That ratio, yeah.
And when I see it, I just like, damn it. And it's just my own quirk. And that's like, after watching again, that's really the only thing I can personally find fault with in this movie. Where
What problem? Like why do you find issue with that?
I find it just like kind of immersion breaking in a way. Because like they used it like switching from
Yeah, they
like
switch from
universes.
universes.
So it's like
Yeah.
a good way to kind of like visually indicate the universe. So it's motivated. And I can appreciate that here it's a motivational piece. But like if you ever watch The Dark Knight or you watch Oppenheimer, it kind of
Uh-huh.
cuts between them depending on scenes and depending on like sets and stuff. And it just feels like you could have just used the same camera everywhere. Sure, it's more expensive to rent it out the whole time, but you could have just and it's just like you see the black bars suddenly appear, and it's like, well, bah. And it's something like where if you saw Zack Snyder's Justice League, where it was the 4:3 in this more square format with the black bars on the sides, it never cuts away from that. It's an unusual format and like something you don't really see in the past 20 years. But he stuck with it the entire movie through and through. Like every shot is that ratio, and after a while, you kind of just forget about it. But I think it's just me as a person who is obsessed with technology, and I'm used to like seeing things on multiple screen sizes and ratios. And when I'm like playing with the movie files, like if I see black bars in the movie files, I'm like, okay, do I have to? I'm searching through, making sure that it's not a movie where it has mixed formats, where it's like some of the scenes have black bars, some scenes don't have black bars, or is it just that whoever ripped the file just left black bars? And so it's like it's something that I'm supremely aware to because of my unique circumstances with movies.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. So it's just like if I was a filmmaker, I would choose not to mix formats. But that's the only it's a personal thing more than anything else.
This film nerd talking about aspect ratios and garbage and
Real.
Because like
no, I mean it's fair.
here's-
I think it's fair. I mean, I guess for somebody who's got an eye for it, it can kind of be a little bit annoying. I mean, like I personally did not notice it. If I'm being honest, Cordelia, I'm sure you probably didn't notice it either. Right?
I noticed it, but
Fuck
I
you.
okay, sorry.
I'm just trying to appeal to the common man.
My first watching in the theaters, I did not notice it, but
Yes, there we
second and
go.
third
Boom.
times I had noticed it. But isn't there like a use in changing that? Like, why do filmmakers change the aspect ratio? I thought it was to bring you out of that scene and into a different scene, like a helpful break or signifier.
Yeah, and like it definitely can be, and it's like people like art directors, directors of photography, the cinematographers, they'll use it as a tool to kind of like establish different scenes and different kind of
Yeah. So
feels.
that way, even if you're unconscious of it, it's still like subconsciously you're noticing a difference.
Yeah. But I just like personally, I feel like if I was on that side of the camera, I'd be working with writing, with directing, with photography about okay, if we're choosing 16, if we're choosing like HD 16:9, if we're choosing the cinematic widescreen, if we're choosing 4:3, how can we constrain our entire movie to fit this kind of framing? And for a lot of movies, like it's not a big deal. Like it's a lot of movies, it's all cinematic widescreen. For several like for some like 1917, the war movie where it's like basically built as there's no cuts, or like it feels like there's no cuts. It's just continuous shots through and through, and they like stitch everything together really well. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No.
No.
Damn. Okay. Well, basically, the entire like 2 hour length of it, you're just like following these two guys walking through the countryside trying to get from one war front to another, and they never deliberately cut the camera. Like they'll move the camera around and like do special effects to kind of blend things, but never is there a harsh cut where it's like scene and then switch perspectives. It's a smooth transition, and it feels like the entire thing was almost one take. And from that medium, like yeah, they had to stick with the same ratio the entire movie. And a lot of movies, they use the same camera for the entire movie, so it's like that. But when it comes like when a director or a studio can film with IMAX, they don't film the entire movie with IMAX half the time.
Well, I want something to do with how this film was made, because they actually used like a hand recorder, like a camcorder,
Right.
for some of the shots that were like speeding through different cities.
Right.
They just recorded like a ton of footage wherever they went and then stitched it all together. So I wonder if the different aspect ratio was because of that.
Nah, there's no. If they like would say it's a technical limitation, then that's complete hoax. Because most cameras can switch between the ratios, and you can get different lenses to adjust. Or if you had a standard size like 16:9 camera, you could stretch it to cinematic with a lens, or like the other. Since it's just there's no technical limitation why. It's more of just it's a directing choice. It's a editing choice, and it's not a choice I'd make. But I think it's just like I want it to be a constraint, and then people use it as a tool, and it's artistic more than anything else, and it's not my cup of tea. But
That's fair enough.
yeah, it's just it's a stupid reason to dislike a movie, and I don't like disliking movies because of it. It's just like, oh well, that happened, and I just noticed that, and it's like, okay, see it switch back. Like in Oppenheimer, usually they use the IMAX when he's in the later day stuff, and when it's back in older times.
A lot in Oppenheimer.
Yeah. And yeah, Christopher Nolan is like his motivations for switching aren't very discernible. Like half the time, it's just like they can only rent out so many
laundry looking ass.
epic laundry.
Doing laundry.
Sorry, I'm doing my laundry.
But yeah, like with Christopher Nolan in The Dark Knight and in Oppenheimer, it'll switch sometimes, and there's no discernible like or clear cinematic reason why it switched, other than maybe they just didn't have the right camera for that shot or for that day. And they're switching between cameras because they're filming a lot of different places, a lot of different sets, a lot of different things. Here, it was always deliberate, like where they use a cinematic widescreen and where they use the standard, like the high definition ratio. And it was clear. Like I feel it here. Other movies, it just feels a little bit worse. But man,
How did you guys feel about all of the like the yin yang stuff, all the symbols?
symbols as in the donut and the googly eyes and stuff, or are you thinking of something else?
Yeah. No, like they used like the circles that were on everybody's heads,
Yeah.
and then there's so there's a symbol that's like similar to the yin yang, but it has to do with the whole pessimism of like nothing matters, and there's like opposites. So the donut, or the not the donut, sorry, the bagel is an opposite image from the googly eye.
Yeah.
So Joy had the bagel as her symbol because her pessimism was negative. It's like nothing matters, so therefore I'm depressed, and nothing matters, and we should all die. And then Evelyn's was the googly eye because nothing matters, and therefore we can do anything we want. And it's like the opposite symbol. Do you get?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
And I think it's a good, like they chose it, I think, very obviously. Or yeah, like a bagel, like a circle of hole, like kind of the hole in the middle. Yeah, you're feeling empty, you feel nothing, you feel at a loss. And then like the googly eye is like, yeah, you're kind of seen, you're understood, and you're appreciated, you're loved. Like they're nice juxtapositions, I'd say. And still like the googly eyes that you put on the TV stand and on my water bottle are still there, by the way. So now I'm just gonna stare at them every time. Like
I have new ones on my phone.
Too funny.
Yeah, absurdism. That's the thing.
Absurdism representing the googly eyes, or absurdism.
Hold on, I'm reading. Yeah, so there's a dichotomy between absurdity and meaning. So the two symbols are opposing one another. But they both represent the yin yang, which is the balance of the oppositional forces and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, Kevin, if you have an idea, because I kind of threw.
Yeah, go for it.
Huh? Sorry.
Like kind of the difference of symbolism between each side. So like the ones who are following the bagel, following, how do you pronounce
It's
it?
the nihilism. It's the representation of nihilism, but both sides of nihilism.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm really bad at analyzing movies. I'm really bad at that.
We're like giving you.
No worries. I mean, it's a very. I think it's just a nice. You can really dive deep into it, but it feels like that one's a pretty clear cut. Like, here's how they're feeling. With like joy and
like what your guys' like opinions on that kind of like nihilism is, because this movie is about nihilism, right? I mean, it's also about family and love and like what you make of your life, but it's also a ton about nihilism.
I mean, admittedly, I think the movie takes a more clear stance on nihilism is an easy path to choose. It's kind of like when you've given up, it's what's left for you, and that's what you believe in because of whatever is going on in your life. That's what you resort to. It's kind of like when you hit rock bottom. Nihilism is one of the few things that are left to believe in, if you want to believe in anything. But and then they choose the appreciation, the love, the kind of googly eyes. Like, yeah, that's the high road. That's what's harder to choose. And it's what takes work and takes time and effort. Eh, I guess just like if you want to get to philosophy of what you personally believe, it, I don't know. Extremism is not always the answer. Only sifts steal in absolutes.
True.
Where, yeah, if you choose nihilism, it's just you're denying a lot of life. You're denying a lot of emotion, denying a lot of the good aspects of life. But if you don't have some sense of realism, some sense of negativity in life, and you always think that everything can be fixed and everything will go right and everything will go well, I think it's just that's a bit of delusion. So like you can't always love your way out of a situation. You can't always fix everything. So it's kind of you pick and choose, and because even
Well,
in good,
well, okay, so Joy is nihilism, and then
right,
Evelyn is existentialism, right? Because they're opposites. So nihilism is like nothing matters, therefore we should destroy. And existentialism is nothing matters and therefore we should like overcome the absurdity of existence and make meaning out of nothing. And like I really liked this movie's message because like I mean, to tell the truth, it's like Joy was gonna just kill herself, right? It's a metaphor for suicide. The daughter's depressed and she can't find meaning in her life, and she was gonna kill herself, and her mom talked her out of it. And they had to come to an understanding about, you know, how they feel and stuff. But there's something to be said about like when you feel like there is nothing to live for, when there is no meaning, when we are small as fuck. Who cares? Like, we still exist and we can still love and we can still find happiness even when the sadness is overwhelming. And I think that's like the core of what Evelyn was trying to, or I guess more like the husband, right? The husband showed her that because she was on the edge of nihilism in the first place. So, like, I guess I'm more asking, like, where would you fall in that spectrum? Like, do you think Joy was right trying to leave? Or do you think Evelyn was right in trying to get her to stay?
I mean, I think a realist like personally, and I think a realistic answer would be it'd be best to fall somewhere in between, maybe lean a bit closer to existentialism. But I feel like even existentialism has its issues, and people can find their meaning in all sorts of different philosophies and belief systems. But I mean, the obvious choice is suicide is not a great answer for life. You
Yeah,
shouldn't kill
but
yourself,
Facts. Yeah.
and no matter how difficult people can be, whether it's family, friends, or anyone else, like you should try and love and forgive as best you can, and accept people. And it's something where being afraid can often lead, like being afraid of something can often lead to more disaster than the thing you're afraid of. Where she was like, Evelyn was afraid of what her father would think of Joy, and Joy was having issues with what her mother thinks of her, and like the whole chain of approval and chain of like that whole family line having issues with acceptance and
Classic
identity.
Asian.
yeah, is this like a classic thing?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you
It's
want to go
definitely.
deeper into that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what
Do you have
deeper
any
meaning it is.
preference?
It's very. It's just very stereotypical.
Yeah,
Like
do you have any
I,
personal stories you'd
I'm
like to
not gonna
share?
say anything personally since this is going on the fucking internet. um,
Okay.
but yeah, I think it's like like I have other friends who've dealt with similar esque ideas, in terms of parents not being approving of what their choices are, etc. Um, I don't know. It's very stereotypical. I feel like it's hard to really say anything else about it.
Do you
Um,
think the disapproval is because of like they want their kids to be better than them, or do you think it has to do with the whole like she didn't want her daughter to be like her, right? Because her father still disapproves of her. So she like flipped to the other side and then caused a bunch of problems with her daughter because her daughter was like her.
I think it's kind of like a mix of both.
Okay.
In a sense, like, oh boy,
I mean, if I might jump in here, it's just
yeah, go for
I
it.
think it can be even simpler than you don't want to not it's not a fear that you'll turn out the same as me or you'll make the same mistakes I did. It's more just okay, I'm an experienced adult. Like with when it happens to a lot of parents, it's like, okay, I'm an experienced adult. I've made mistakes in my life and I want to impart the wisdom I have to my children
My kids,
oftentimes.
yeah.
Yes. And there when you're a father or mother, I'm sure you want what's best for your kids and you have this expectation of like, oh well, okay, I'm only like I'm a McDonald's employee and it really sucks kind of having to live paycheck to paycheck. So I want my family to be educated. I want my kids to be smarter than me so they can go to college and get a better job. So not always living paycheck to paycheck so they can do better. So if your kid suddenly starts doing poorly in school, it's like maybe yeah, you can be disappointed in how like who they are, but you're also just like sad and or yeah, unhappy with the idea that they might yeah end up like you, or you're just unhappy with they might not have a great life like you want them to, and you have people that can turn to anger or resentment when they're trying to enable people to do better and succeed, and people don't. And it's just like yes, making mistakes is part of life and dealing with um dealing with issues, errors, and mistakes and things is learning from all of that is what makes everyone grow and become wiser and better as humans. So it's hard to impart wisdom simply, and a lot of I think people in general when they try to impart wisdom and impart guidance, um, it's like a game of telephone. You can get the same message across, where it's like the same meaning across, but the message and the details and the nuance and all the hurt and pain and experience and all of the things that built your wisdom won't be communicated by just telling someone or simply teaching someone. There's aspects that get lost in translation, and sometimes I feel like people don't realize that you can tell someone something wise, but you understanding it because you experience so much hardship to become that wise won't be the same as someone being told that wisdom and like they can accept it, but it might not be as reinforced comparatively.
It's not going to make them wise just because I know it.
Yeah.
And I think,
But
oh, good.
there were a lot of things in this movie. Like the mom would be like, "You're getting fat," or "You need to grow your hair out" near the end.
Yeah.
And then there was stuff about like, I know we don't talk about our emotions. Is that also a stereotypical thing? And like, why?
It's pretty stereotypical.
But why?
I don't know. I this is I don't know what it is with Asians, and like I feel like it's a very stereotypical thing about face. Um, Especially when it's with your elders. I know that when I went on my trip to China, um, one of the big things that my mom was talking about the entire time leading up to that was like, oh, like you guys need to like exercise a little bit more. Like you guys need to get into more shape. Because like I need to save a face for our family. Um, kind of thing. So
How,
it's
Like
like
representation?
Yeah, it's kind of like a representational kind of thing. Like I don't know what it is with like Chinese families at least, but it's like the very first thing that you look at is the face, right? So like in the face, in I guess in like Chinese lore or something like that, like the face is basically what like an image is. You know, how, like people say like a picture's worth 1,000 words, kind of thing. It's like I
Yeah.
feel like in Chinese tradition, it's like your face is worth like 1,000 words. Like you can look at somebody's face, you can tell a lot of things about them just from their face alone. Um, how healthy
Mhm.
you are, what your weight, obviously like what your weight is, all that kind of stuff, how old you look, all that kind of like how wise you would be or like you might be is all like kind of read from like the face or at least the very first interaction that you would have with somebody. Um,
So is there like a fascination with beauty and like handsomeness?
I
I don't really
guess.
know if it's
Yeah, but like I don't even know if it's really about the fascination portion, more than just like
or saying it's just beauty or handsomeness. I think it's too much of a simplification. Where he's kind of mentioning you can tell entire person's character. So they're not just looking for are
character's a
you
better word
beautiful,
for it.
handsome, are you happy, are you satisfied, are you wise, are you learned,
Mm.
are you all like when you're healthy, then you're wise about your long term goals. Like, okay, I'm choosing not to eat 20 cookies today because yeah, I want to live till I'm 80 or 90 years old, see great grandkids possibly. I want to be an old wise man and stuff like that. Um, choosing to uh maybe yeah, exercise more and slim down is like yeah, I can be more capable of playing with my family, of supporting people when they need help moving or just doing other stuff. So whenever I hear like, oh, you're getting fat from like Asian family, or it's like, oh, like you look a bit chubby or something, it's just like I don't see it as a um turn like form of disappointment or dissatisfaction necessarily. It's more of they wish you could have a better life. They
They're
wish
like
you a better
caring
life.
about you.
Yes, it's
Yeah, it's like a endearing kind of thing, but not really endearing.
like oh, I
I don't know
noticed that
about
you.
you, but like I mean, for me, it's like my mom tells me I'm fat. I'm like, okay, like I'm kind of pissed, but whatever.
Yeah,
um,
it's just like
no,
rec- it's a you can focus on how it recognizes your faults and focusing on the issues you have in your life, which are might be causing you to be what they're describing: fats, ugly, unhappy, disheveled. But
So no, yeah, finish your thing.
yeah, I think it's just more that oh, like mm, at least from family, I always just expect it as I wish that um you were happy, like that things in your life were better or you were happier, so that you could be healthier and do more. And I hope that you
Mm.
can live to a long old age where you can see your nephews, nieces, kids, grandkids, great grandkids. Like I kind of see both sides of the coin where it's like, well, you're not doing. It doesn't seem like you're doing great right now, and maybe it's an opportunity. It's an invitation to share. Albeit it's a crass invitation. Um, but yeah, like in terms
So
of no, go ahead.
how does that go back to then like okay, so like if commenting on physical appearance and stuff and like saving face um is kind of them trying to care and like show that they want you to be healthy and happy. What about when you're like happy about your choices but they disapprove? Is that the same thing? Like the daughter is gay and the mom was like, not as approving about it. Um
I
didn't
think
really want to face it.
yeah,
that's just disappointment. I think.
I think that just comes down to like the aspects of traditionalism of
Yeah. Like I mean,
what
yeah, I think that's
they
just a
people
very traditionalist mindset.
yeah, like you expect the
That
world to be a certain way of like, oh yeah, in order to have a family, you're supposed to give birth to your own kids. So theoretically, like if you're dating a woman, if you get gay or whatever, then you can't have a family because well, how are you going to procreate? Traditional
Is it
values, just
is it
like,
all about family then? Because it seems like the things you were saying before was about family, and if this is also about family, then
yeah, I
is
mean,
it all family?
when you look at Asian cultures, Buddhist cultures especially, family is one of, or if not the most important thing usually. Where your family is immutable, your family is always there for you. Your ancestors are there to look upon you, to give you wisdom from, like, in spirituality. Like, your ancestors can give you spirituality. Your ancestors will protect you and guide you, even um, after death. Like, my aunts and uncles, they'll talk about having dreams of um, like their dead older brother or father, mother, uncles, and whatever, trying to show them things and like help guide them. Where it's like my uncle, he had a dream where his dad was um, around Berkeley looking at my sister on a moped, and he was unhappy. And then my uncle's like, oh, well, he's unhappy about how unsafe she's being, so I should give her my car so that she can travel around campus and like around the city safer. And
Damn.
it's just one of those things where, yeah, to I think in Asian cultures, family is sacred. Family is forever. Like, once you've kind of married in, once you've had kids, it's like even in, like, I think ideal Christianity, ideal European cultures are very much the same way, but the idea that your ancestors can give you wisdom and kind of visit you and impart ideas even more reinforces just the importance of like choosing to stay together as a family, choosing to remain strong and push through hardship. So, yeah, it's tough when you might have different values from your family or different beliefs, and then you kind of can disagree on what's best for you or for them or for life in general. And like, they love you and they want good things for you. Or it's like, I'm sure for Evelyn, she wanted her to succeed and be happy and healthy. I was like, that's why you're fat. Or, oh, he I want you to get married and have a family. But her mindset is like still somewhat traditional. She was like had notions of husband wife procreation things. But it's something where if people can adapt and if people are able to change their minds and see kind of a new standpoint and understand the good and the bad of everything, where yes, now you don't need to have man and woman to be family. You don't need man and woman to be happy or start a family. You can There's new ways around that, and if you can adapt and kind of change, ultimately you might be more accepting and more welcoming and have more love for those who you might not have had love for before. I think that's the ideal sense. Whereas like the grandfather, where I think I mentioned this a little bit ago, where the fear of something was more dangerous than the thing itself. Where Evelyn was afraid that her father wouldn't approve of Joy, so she didn't want to approve of Joy. So it's like it caused a cycle of disappointment.
And then he did.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, she's found someone she loves, and that's great. And he's like, okay, and he can adapt.
So Kevin, do you also relate to that? Like the family being the most important thing?
I mean, like, I guess, like, I can understand it. Like, I get it. I mean, like, personally, my family's not that close knit. Um, and I mean, if I'm being honest, we don't really even talk to most of our other relatives. Um, but like, yeah, I think at the high level of like just in general, yeah, I would agree that Asian culture is typically very family oriented. You look at or at least I look at how my family ate, right, in China. It
Mhm.
was all every restaurant that we went to was a sit down restaurant, and it was like large tables, huge tables that you could sit probably like 20 to 25 people at. and it was like this big round table with a huge lazy Susan in the middle, and just a bunch of food on that lazy Susan that you just sit
So
down
everybody
and you
shares.
share like all of that food, you know. So it's very, very like doesn't even. And I mean, I think the big thing there is you don't even need to know everybody. Like people will just introduce themselves and they're like, "Oh, like I'm your aunt from when you were like 2." It's like, who knows if they're actually telling the truth or not? Who knows if they're actually
Wait,
really your aunt,
wait,
right?
hold on. They're your aunt from when you were 2, but that's
Like
it? Like, they're
when
not your
they
aunt
last
still?
saw you when he
No,
means like
like
when they last saw you when he was
like
2.
when they last saw us, it was like, oh, like when they last saw us, like maybe I was like 2 years old or something like that. But like,
For a
like they're
second, I was like,
technically
"Oh,
an
you
aunt.
can disown aunts? That's
No,
crazy."
no, no, no. Um, but yeah, so it's like everyone that you kind of meet there, even if they're strangers, it's like you kind of use like the uncle or the aunt like nomenclature. Like you would just call them like uncle or aunt. Um, like in Chinese. Like you would never just like call them like by their first name. You would typically
Oh.
just say like, "Oh, like hi aunt," like or like hi uncle. Um, especially if like another family member were to introduce you to them, like you would use like that terminology.
So did you find, like, the family structure in the movie realistic to an Asian culture?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean, it's all about elderly, right? The elderly are the superiors. So
Oh.
it's like I mean, my mom was doing the same thing when we were in China, you know? Like if like my mom was very different, acted very differently when we were in front of our grandparents in China than when we were just like together alone. As
Huh.
like a four person family. Um, it's all about, how you act around your mom and your dad or her mom and her dad, and all of that. So like I can see it being quite realistic. Um, like my mom's all about like, oh, like we need to make sure that like, grandma and grandpa are okay, like or like they're okay with certain things, XYZ, all that. Um, so yeah, yeah.
Huh. See, that's one of the things that I actually found more difficult for me to relate to in this movie. Because, like, I mean, you guys know my family structure ain't much. I mean, like, my dad's mom right now, like, recently she drove her car into an apartment building and forgot where she was, and, like, she's having problems. Um, and my dad was like, "Should I go or should I not go? Like, am I even gonna be useful here? I don't even wanna take care of her." And I kinda had to, like, convince him to go. Um, so there's not, like, a whole lot of respecting the elders in my family, and, like, I mean, I moved like, across the country from my family because I didn't care enough to
Mhm,
stay. Um, like, I still love them, and I can understand, like, hmm, I understand why Evelyn felt so hurt by her dad allowing her to go, because she still loved him. And she just wanted him to be proud of her. Um, but then I had a hard time understanding why she would take care of him when he needed, like, when he was in the wheelchair and got old.
mhm,
Um,
So
because why would she, you know? Like, he kicked her out, so why would she need to take care of him? Um, and I understand, like, wanting to protect her daughter because she loves her daughter and she doesn't want her daughter to go. And but she's also like, I don't understand why the daughter would want her mom to be, I guess, approve of all of her choices. Cause like, why does it matter? I guess. Um, I don't know. So that was one of the things that I had a hard time actually relating to in the movie. I could understand it because I know that there's different family structures and people have different cultures and things.
mhm.
But it's definitely something I had to work on to, like, fully feel and empathize with in the movie. Which is just a kind of fascinating thing to look at different family structures and points of views.
yeah, I think I'd say that her yeah, dad allowing her to leave like that was meant as like if you understand how yeah like Asian family dynamics usually go and how strong of a connection family is, that's a
Mhm.
very drastic thing. It's a very big thing. It's like when you choose to kind of give up on family in that way, you are basically thinking of them as dead, as no longer like when they're no longer part of the family, they're not connected really at all, and that's like
Yeah.
the gravity of the situation. But at the same time, you can still like, yeah, she chose to she still loved him and still wanted to kind of take care of him because she had the traditional values of, well, family is still important. Like my father is my father, and no matter how much I like want to think differently, or
I'm
no matter
upset.
like yeah, like how upset, it's kind of like just an immutable thing about life. And yeah, it's like we're at least yeah from learning from like my family, you can never really give up on family. And you should never want to give up on family. Like when you've kind of accepted someone to be that close to you, you should always be there for them no matter what, no matter how good or bad they might be, no matter how nice or angry they might make you, happy or angry they might make you. Family is family. Family is kind of just like
Is
supposed to be the one permanent aspect of life, and that's kind of like at least
is
what.
that why there were like problems with the divorce stuff?
Yeah, like the idea of divorcing is like it's drastic. Like you when she said, yeah, we made a sacred promise, like we made a sacred oath. Um where yeah, people
That
get
wasn't
divorced
a
nowadays.
religious oath to
No.
them.
But
Oh, okay.
it's yeah, it's not necessarily religious, it's just like fundamental to belief where once you've chosen to marry, once you've chosen to become family, choosing not to be family is kind of just like supposed to be not an option. So no matter how hard the road may like can get or how hard things will be, family like is supposed to kind of be permanent. They're always supposed to be there for you. Um,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Asian couples typically don't divorce.
yeah,
Maybe
and
American, like Asian American. At least like once you're like first generation. Is it first generation? Is that the one? Am I first generation or am I second
sec
generation? Second generation. At least second
you're
generation. Second generation Asians typically might have more divorces, but I think if you're like a first gen,
technically
like
your
you
first gen
come
because your parents weren't born here.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What the fuck ever. I never understand family dynamic like that. Like I just don't understand that garbage. Um yeah, but like if typically speaking, you don't get divorced. It's
Is
not
that how
really
you guys
it's
feel
not
as
really a
well?
thing.
like
I mean,
me,
it's unfortunate that divorces are more and more common nowadays. I feel like most people when they get married at first it usually ends in a divorce, you know? Yeah, I feel like it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that that is the case. Um but I mean, yeah, I feel like that's more on a case by case basis. Like
No,
you
I
just
I
got to
meant
be
personally. Like, would you ever get a divorce kind of thing?
I think if I was genuinely unhappy with the marriage that I was in, absolutely.
Okay. Kind of wondering.
yeah. I don't know.
I think no amount of like just being unhappy with like a relationship that you're in, like should
Yeah, it's not gonna
like
fix
it's just
nothing.
not worth it, you know? Like if you've been married for 10 years and the last 3 out of 10 years, it's like you've been like you just hate going home, like you just don't even want to talk to your wife, like or your husband or whoever it is, like if it's going to make your life more miserable to like just stay in the relationship, you may as well just try to break it off and have the discussion about a divorce.
Yeah, I mean, kind of remember kind of my standpoints on promises, but I like to live my life, and I the language I use is very uncertain often, where thinking absolutes is not my forte because I'm not too certain about the future or how things will go. So I'll say I'll probably be there in 40 minutes, or yeah, I'll try to make it, and different things like that. And I reserve my like kind of the words I promise or I will or like if I am like sure about something, if I'm super confident, then I want to kind of reinforce that with every fiber of my being. And when a promise is broken, then it hurts me fundamentally, like down to my bones, to my heart, to my soul, and everything. Where it's like I try to like make promises very infrequently, very little, because I'd like to kind of have the reputation that when I make a promise, it's absolute, it's kind of guaranteed. So yeah, if and when I get married, I it would be something very uh drastic to kind of make me lead to divorce. You know, so it's just
They
choosing
gotta kill a bitch.
yeah, like at least for me, choosing to promise, choosing to kind of give your word, to kind of give your soul over to someone like that, to life and efforts and love and everything. I think it's a very meaningful choice. It should be a very important thing. And if you don't know, or if you don't want to make the effort to fix things or to push through, then what was that promise worth in the first place? I think, and like if you have kids or like start making a
Yeah.
family and all those other things, then just how much worse are you like making the world versus can you choose to fix it? Can you choose to be better as a person to move through hardship, to kind of like have the grit, have the perseverance to remain loving and accepting and adaptable to any situation.
Yeah.
You kind of cut out
So,
there. Sorry.
what was your guys' favorite part?
The bagel.
You
When
like the
she was
bagel?
like opening the hand
When
to
she
look at
was
the
opening the
bagel?
head to look at the
It was
bagel,
really
that was
good.
pretty. It's
Yeah.
pretty top tier. I ain't gonna lie.
Tucked into a bagel. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah,
I
that
really
like
like.
when she first said it too, and she was
Yeah.
like, "I put everything on a bagel," and it just like clicked in my mind. I was like, "Bruh, it's
It's
just an
an
everything
everything
bagel."
bagel. I love that part. It always gives me chills.
Mm.
Oh man.
I really like the part in the alley where they're like talking and he's like in another life. I would have really
Oh,
loved to do taxes and like do laundry and
laundry.
run
Yeah,
and do taxes with you.
yeah.
Yeah. God.
That's
I was
the
gonna
That one's a rough one.
Yeah.
good nice feel good moment. Or the fake out where it's like, is she dead? And then just cut the credits. I
Bruh,
think it's
that
always
got me
funny.
the first time. Davis saw my reaction when I first watched it. That fucking got me. I was like, is she just fucking dead?
Oh.
Cut the credits and like there's times it's like, you have fake outs and endings, and it's like, wow. And they're like, wait a second, why did everyone love this movie if that's where it ends? What the shit?
Yeah, man, we just really like death scenes at the end of the movie.
Yeah, my favorite.
So it's always fun when a movie can insert one and not ruin the whole plot. You can only really have it in a comedy, but to have it in a
Dark
dramatic.
comedy.
I don't even
What would
know.
you consider this movie?
Dark drama. If
Like
that's even a fucking genre.
like a comedic drama, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Mm.
like when you look at the kind of, it's like a science fiction comedy, action adventure fantasy movie.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
That's just what the category is off of Plex show.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see science fiction makes sense, multiverse jumping, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like I definitely call it, but I call it a dark comedy versus just a comedy. Because I feel
Comedies
like
are
think
usually
it's like-
not comedies are usually not dark. There might be
Yeah.
like some lingering like dark themes, but I feel like a lot of this movie is pretty dark. So it's like I would
think it's
probably
like
consider it like a
a
dark
comedy first.
yeah, I don't think I'd consider it like dark humor. I'd consider it like a deep, like a drama piece, something that's kind of like deep and emotional. But I wouldn't characterize the comedy aspect as dark humor, or it's supposed to be adult. Like it's supposed to be super adult or super. It has the absurdity. It has the slapstick nature of it. It has the
But that's
amusement
not
and the simplicity.
that's not dark humor though, because
No,
dark
dark-
humor is usually like depressing humor, like oh everyone should die or
Yeah,
let's kill
exactly.
ourselves.
Yeah, dark humor is
Haha, let's just fucking kill ourselves.
Exactly.
creating very, very
Like I'm sending a
unusual
pipe bomb to your building. That's
It's
dark
fucking
humor.
coming. It's on its way.
This was just like a comedy, but
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But not just the ending. I think is really good. Where like seeing Evelyn, like right after they kind of like finish up the alleyway scene, that's like choosing to fight like Wayman does, and then like reaching her father, and a grandfather in it, and finally like letting go of Joy, but still and not letting go at the same time, kind of like that superposition of decisions.
Mm.
It, the movie is just so well written to set that up, and it's
really good.
yeah.
It's by the Daniels too, which also wrote Swiss Army Man.
I don't think Swiss Army Man hits as hard as this one, admittedly.
No, probably not, but you know.
Swiss Army Man is cute, and
Have I ever seen Swiss Army Man?
I think we like put it on in the background and you were in the apartment, but you never sat down to watch it.
no, I think Kevin left. When,
Oh,
like,
is
you
this
had to
the fucking one where Daniel Radcliffe plays a fucking
Yeah.
dead man the entire time?
Yeah.
that would also be a good movie to watch as a group
Okay, I mean, I
discussion.
guess I have seen this movie. I personally did not like this movie, but
I was gonna say it does not seem like a Kevin movie.
yeah, I've definitely watched it before. It just, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's okay.
I don't understand why you would write a fucking movie like that. to
It's
begin
so
with.
good. It's so good. But we're not here to review Swiss Army Man, so I won't talk about it.
Yeah.
We can watch that another time. And it has Paul Dano. Paul Dano? Paul Dano? Dano. Man,
It's the
yeah.
3 Daniels. Or 4 Daniels? There's a lot of Daniels.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Need not go into it. Need not go into it. Maybe not the time.
Is there anything else that we'd like to say? It's getting
no.
a little late, so.
Yeah, we got a solid hour on the recording. So I think that's a good place to call it. I
Mhm.
appreciate you guys for discussing it with me.
Got into a bagel.
True.
There, you can put that at the end.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.